What did we watch?
We watched season 3, episode 1 of Sherlock.
Strike that, reverse it.
Season 3.
Oh, we did watch episode 1.
Episode
You're right.
1 of Sherlock.
I've been.
Jeez.
My brain doesn't work. Which is called Empty Hearse, which is your favorite episode. So
Yeah.
I'll let you take the lead.
I love that episode. I forgot how stressful that episode is. But it starts off super badass because obviously we just found out in the last episode that Sherlock is still alive.
Mm-hmm.
But we don't know how he did it, which is one of my favorite parts of this episode.
The theories?
Yes, the first one is so badass. Sherlock's just a badass in this episode. I love it.
That first one, I couldn't figure out if it was bullshit or not until he went through the window.
I know.
Oh, okay, well, yeah.
And then he kissed Molly. I loved all that.
Ruffles the coat. And
Yeah, he's walking and he looks back at the kid down the hallway.
How you doing, Sherlock? Fuck yeah.
It's awesome.
But it turns out that was what's his name's theory. He's got obsessed.
Whose theory?
Anderson.
The forensics dude.
Yeah, he feels guilty, so.
Yeah, but oh well. And then another big part of this episode is John has been mourning him for 2 years, and now he's back, and that's super painful to deal with, and you see all of that.
And most importantly, there's a mustache. I think that's the most important part of the episode.
Everyone hates it.
Yes. Mary likes it.
I think it's...
What's Sherlock been up to in between seasons?
I don't even know what he was up to. What was he up to? He was in a Russian prison.
He was dismantling Moriarty's crime web.
Oh, right. I knew that.
Which apparently also had ties to Russia. That's why he was there.
Mm-hmm.
So he comes back to London because Mycroft
There's going to be a terrorist attack in London. And it's Guy Fawkes Day. Oh my god, the most terrifying, almost death is in this episode.
Oh, the fire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What the fuck? How did that even happen? Why did they have John there? Just trying to get Sherlock?
Well, we'll find out in the third episode, won't we?
I don't remember.
Because they introduce at the end of this episode, they introduce Magnuson, who's just this guy with glasses looking at It turns out at the end, John says, why did they take me? They were trying to get to you. Why'd they kidnap me? And Sherlock's like, I don't know. I don't like not knowing. And we're not going to find out what that was about until the third episode.
Yeah.
So Sherlock's engaged. No. Sherlock is not engaged. John is engaged, however, to a woman named Mary.
He moved on when Sherlock had died.
Mm-hmm. And she's lovely. But something's weird about her.
Yeah.
When Sherlock does his whole reading people thing.
It's she's too good or something.
And he can't get a beat on what she is.
Yeah.
Later on when John is kidnapped, she can understand what a code, a triptych code is.
Yeah, because they were texting her, not him.
Mm-hmm.
And so she ran to Sherlock for help.
Or she had his phone, I can't remember what, something like that.
Oh, okay.
What else is going on? So there's going to be a terrorist attack, so Sherlock is monitoring a bunch of different tales.
Yeah, and then there's some stuff with the trains, they weren't sure, but it turns out that's where the bomb was.
Mm-hmm.
They were talking to some train expert guy.
Who has halitosis.
Oh.
Remember him and his brother did the whole, let's play deductions, they were throwing the hat back and forth, discussing what that person could be.
Nope, I guess I zoned out.
You don't remember that?
Zoned out on that one.
It was just after, they were playing, before they played deductions with the hat, they were playing Operation.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I totally zoned down that scene.
Yeah, and they start talking about, about how maybe people aren't so bad. And Mycroft is like, oh, Sherlock, I think you're dull-witted and slow. Can you imagine what the rest of the world is like? It's like living in a world full of goldfish. And Sherlock's, yeah, but I was gone for 2 years, so thought maybe you might have gotten a goldfish. Who we've been talking to, And the whole thing with the hat is what if this dude is a social reject because he has this hat that everyone thinks is stupid? And Mycroft's like, nah, he probably just doesn't care what people think of him. And Sherlock's like, nope, you're right, of course. There's nothing wrong with being different, right? And Mycroft's like, I'm not lonely, Sherlock. That all happened in the episode we just watched.
Okay. Good to know. Sometimes I need a recap on the recap.
Let's discuss how Sherlock reintroduces himself to John, because I love that scene.
That is hilarious. Well,
and heartbreaking.
Sherlock thinks going into it, we see how heartbroken John is.
He hasn't seen Hudson in years.
Hudson.
Mrs. Hudson, the landlord.
Yeah.
He doesn't live there anymore.
They have a really meaningful, touching relationship where she's like, you could have just called once, but I get where John had to close everyone off. I get it. I understand. So John's gonna propose to Mary, and so he takes her to this really nice restaurant. Sherlock walks in. He thinks that John's gonna be super happy to see him, and so like he pulls this whole elaborate prank where like he dresses up like as a waiter.
He puts on a really horrible French accent.
Yeah, and like has all of these puns about like I don't even remember any of them.
That's like a bottle of wine where he's like, something familiar, yet unexpected. Things like that.
And like he'll look pointedly at John.
But John is like focused on, he's nervous about the wedding, so he's not looking up at Sherlock.
Yeah.
And then, of course, finally, he does realize it's Sherlock and doesn't go the way Sherlock planned.
No, not at all. Sherlock had no idea that he would have caused John that much pain. Because, and so they have like this long conversation and there's like fist fights and like John's punching him a bunch and
headbutts him in the face.
He's fucking angry.
I love John so much.
Yeah, he's great.
I'm also a huge fan of when Lestrade finds out that Sherlock's back, he's lighting up that cigarette.
Oh, yeah.
And like, those things are bad for you. And he's like, oh, you bastard! And then just a big bear hug.
I know. Same with someone else right after that. Well, he saw Mary. No, Molly.
Molly, yeah. And he took Molly, because John's like, I'm done with this. I don't want to be your little sidekick anymore.
Yeah.
So Molly is the one going out as like his surrogate John.
Yeah. Yeah. I get it. So, like, they were separated for a long time, Sherlock and John.
In this episode,
and then finally it was when John got kidnapped, basically, right? Is what kind of what brought them back
yeah.
together. That is the scariest, like, thing I've ever seen, because...
They drug him.
They drug him and they drag him off somewhere and you can't tell, but like you see John and like he's like disoriented and like there's shit all around him and like he's a dark place somewhere, and then we find out it's Guy Fawkes Day, and so like they're having this big bonfire and you're like, oh no, John's in
and there's one
in the big
there's
like,
one little kid
woods.
Staring at the woods,
and
she can hear John being like, no, let me out,
yeah, terrifying.
And Sherlock is hauling ass through the city to try and get to him.
Badass bike scene, by the way. Yeah.
And Sherlock literally drags John out of the fire because they love each other so much.
Oh my god.
Another big fandom moment.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, because it was already on fire and everything.
It's pretty heart-wrenching.
That was bad.
There was a lovely moment, like we said, Sherlock and Molly are hanging out, where Sherlock's like, you can't really do this again. Be my assistant. But it was a thank you, because Moriarty underestimated you, and he said, you weren't someone that mattered, but you were. You were the most important thing. I could not have done that without you.
Yeah.
And he's like, congratulations, by the way, and you reveal that she's engaged.
And then we find out later that this dude looks almost exactly like Sherlock.
But like a decade younger. But yeah, tall, skinny.
And not a high-functioning sociopath.
No.
Oh, it appears, at least.
Kind of a doofus, as we'll find out in this episode we're watching now.
But Molly is too, it makes sense.
I love Molly. Let's see, what else happens in this episode? Anything of note?
Well, I guess just at the end, like the final, like big terrorist bomb thing, where like 6 cards went in, but only 5 cards came out. So they determined that one of them stayed in the tunnel, and then like all of the bombs were there, and
yeah, it turns out that
Sherlock's
the whole
giant
car,
dick in that scene.
Yeah, it turns out the whole car is full of explosives. Like it's not like there's a bomb on the train. The train is a bomb essentially, and it's under Parliament. And they show like a sequence of Sherlock imagining what could happen. You actually see Parliament blow up.
No, I don't.
Yeah, that happened.
Okay.
If anyone's ever curious why I tend to do a lot of talking in these reviews and talk over Rachel, it's because she doesn't pay attention, apparently.
I just need someone to chat my
Had her eyes closed during most of it. Anyway, on that train, they find the bomb, and there's only like 2 minutes left, and Sherlock I don't know how to shut it off. Sorry, please forgive me, John. And John's like, no, this is a trick. Like, you want me to forgive you. And Sherlock's like, no, we're gonna die. Like, I feel really bad that I misled you and then I put you through all that. Like, can you please forgive me? And once again, just like the monologue at the end of the last episode, Martin Freeman is so heartbreakingly good. It's like, you are the best man I've ever known. Of course, I forgive you. And then it fades to white because you think the bomb's gonna blow up. And then we have the wonderful Anderson scene.
Yeah.
Which, do you believe that's how he did it?
Yeah,
I don't.
I kind of do. It makes sense.
Sort of.
What part doesn't?
What Anderson says at the end. Like, how did you know he was going to stand in that spot? Like, how did you know John wasn't just going to, like, run over to the building?
Because John is loyal to a fault.
And what if the guy on the bike had missed him? And there's a lot of plot holes. But
there's a lot of things that could have gone
fun
wrong.
Hypothesis for sure. I prefer to think that Sherlock never tells anybody because... Honestly, like, I think the creators of the show said, like, he pulled it off. I don't think he's obligated to tell anybody how he did that.
I mean, if it is a magic trick, then, yeah, as the magician, you shouldn't.
But it's a cool scenario, like, there's like a mattress, and there's a building, and they run around like a clock. And
the thing, like they even addressed like where the dead body came from that looked just like Sherlock.
Yeah, they did. They tied that, which I'm sure that part of it was true.
They tied that back into the last episode with the girl who was screaming.
Mm-hmm. Somebody who looked just like Sherlock, or very much like Sherlock.
Yeah.
Obviously Molly was in on it. Mycroft was in on it. Some homeless people were in on it.
Oh, that was
and his parents knew about it. Like, everybody but John.
I know, that was so sad. Like, just as the episode kept going, like, John was like, wait, you told them too?
Yeah,
and, like,
God
why couldn't you just tell me? Like, yeah.
Mm-hmm. It hurts
so
a little bit. Obviously, when we come back from the Anderson scene, it turns out that, the bomb didn't go off. Sherlock did switch it off before and just wanted to make John apologize. They wanted to get past it.
And he's, like, laughing maniacally, and then John's finally
You're such a dick!
Yeah. Because he is.
And he's like, you know how to turn it off? There's an off switch. They always have an off switch. Otherwise, if they didn't have an off switch, terrorists have a lot of problems. So you were lying. I wasn't lying about everything. I have no idea how to turn off those ridiculous lights on the bomb. And the police show up, and we go to the final scene, which is the press are gathered around outside 221 Baker Street because, A, Sherlock is back. And there's a wonderful moment, like, what's his name? Anderson has started a fan club called the Empty Hearse.
Oh, yeah.
Devoted to a bunch of conspiracy theory freaks who, like, are convinced that Sherlock's alive, and they're all sitting around discussing it when all their phones go off. Beep, 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 beep. Hashtag Sherlock lives, which broke Twitter, 5 years ago when the shit aired, or 3 years ago when it aired.
I love that. I love how, like, integrated the shows with the fans.
Yeah, and that's the other thing. All the theories that we've seen some sort of how Sherlock survived, a lot of them came straight from Twitter.
That's awesome.
Including my favorite one, which shows, John's on the ground on the cell phone. Sherlock, what are you doing? Don't jump. And up on the roof is a body with a rope tied to it.
And he's like sitting next to Moriarty.
Sherlock Moriarty sitting there, and Moriarty's giggling, shut up, he's getting here. And then they let it go, and then they like lean in to kiss.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so fucking, that's awesome. It's awesome. They're very much into the whole Tumblr fan base theory. And the episode we're going to get to next, which we're watching now, is my favorite episode of the series, The Sign of Three, is clearly they're into the fan base, because this one, their love for each other in this episode, The Sign of Three, is, we'll get there anyway.
Yeah.
So the last episode is, there's a press conference, everyone's there, Sherlock's back, and he stopped a bomb. So Watson's like, that's where we get that scene where he says, like, why did they kidnap me if they wanted to get to you? What the hell? I don't know, John. Things don't always work out the way they do in your blogs. I don't like not knowing. And then there's that very nice moment where Watson's like, when I thought you were dead, I went to your grave. And Sherlock's like, I wish you think so. And I asked for one more miracle. I know I was there. I heard you. I asked you to not be dead. And he's like, well. Anyway, I'm going to go be Sherlock Holmes. And he puts the hat on and heads outside. And there's I love that shot because they walk out into the crowd in slow motion. And Sherlock's like, hello, I'm Sherlock. And behind him, Watson's just going.
I didn't even catch
Such a fucking drama queen. I love Martin Freeman so much. And then the last scene is we're in some weird house and there's like 5 different TVs.
Oh, yeah.
And it's all showing footage of the bonfire and John inside and Sherlock showing up to rescue John. You're like, who the fuck is this guy? And it's this old dude with a bald head and like
glasses,
very fancy glasses.
Yeah.
And that scene ends with like him staring into a freeze frame image of Sherlock's face. So you're like, what the hell is this about?
Yeah, that guy looks creepy.
And they don't explain it in this episode because episode 2 is the best episode of the series. Finally. Anyway, that's pretty much everything. He's back. Sherlock's back.
Woo!
All of our favorite characters are happy to see him to varying degrees.
Yeah.
Mary, that's Sherlock's fiance. Jesus Christ, words. Mary is John's fiance. Mary seems to like Sherlock, seems to like their interactions together. She's a really supportive woman. They're married in real life, those two.
That's cute.
Martin Freeman and what's her name are married in real life. Kind of like in, you don't watch It's Always Sunny, do you?
I've seen a few episodes.
Charlie and the waitress that he's always stalking, they're married in real life.
Oh, I've heard that before.
And of course, Dee and Mac are married in real life.
Yeah, I knew that.
Anyway, that's pretty much it. Again, it's your favorite episode, so explain.
Yeah, that's it. It's Sherlock glory and its best.
Right.
Because
after all the heartache of the last one, you're like, he's back!
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Like, the energy was up, plus, oh no, Sherlock and John are not together
They're
anymore.
not friends anymore.
And, you see them slowly piece their relationship back together, and I thought it was really adorable. So it was, equal parts emotions, and, fuck yeah, Sherlock is so cool!
Woo, rock star!
Yeah.
The woman who plays Molly, who's not a character from the books, by the way, they made her up for the show. She's awesome, that character and that actress. She was talking about how, she just took this part, and obviously Benedict's a really good actor, but when they hired him for the first season, he wasn't, a movie star or anything. He was just thing. And Sherlock just, boom, right away was this huge fucking hit for both the actors. And between you know, season 1 and where we are in season 3, he became a pretty goddamn big star. Like, he was in Star Trek. He was in like 7 movies in 1 year before the season aired. So she was interviewed about like, how was it like to be working on the show again? She's like, oh, it's great. I love being back. They're giving me lots to do. Also, like, I got to kiss Benedict, which is pretty cool. Get to make out with a movie star. Not a bad day at work. Anyway,
I want to kiss Benedict Cumberbatch.
I want to kiss Martin Freeman. I want them to kiss.
No, I don't see it. It's definitely best friendship.
Yeah. Well, anyway. We'll get to it inside of 3. The show where John and Sherlock get drunk together. Anyway, that's it for the empty hearse. And, wow, this lighting is really... It's daytime. What do you know? We're hanging out at daytime and doing things instead of sleeping all day and then watching television together.
That's good.
I feel like that's usually what we do.
Not
2017, it's a new year. What do you usually do? Like, I feel like...
During the day?
Yeah.
I read, I play ukulele,
right,
I go on walks.
You've been Hamiltoning a lot recently.
I've been Hamiltoning a lot recently.
Alright, I sleep all day because I'm usually hungover, but...
Yeah, I'm usually up doing stuff. Cooking.
2017, so I'm going to try and cut drinking back quite a bit.
Good.
Right out. Daytime, I don't like daytime, it's weird.
I love the daytime because I'm a teacher and I go to bed at like 9:30.
Yay, teacher. Anyway, we will see you with the next episode of Sherlock Vlogs, The Sign of 3, and my favorite episode.
Awesome. Bye.
Bye. Move, dog. Move.
Get out the way. Get out the way, dog. Get out the way.
Oh. Come here. Come on. Come on, come on.
Always waiting on Willow.
Okay.